So to start off with, could you please tell us your name, your year of graduation, and the degree you earned from the University of Michigan?
Sure. My name is Lisa Hoglund. When I was a student, it was Lisa Train. So I'm Lisa Train Hoglund. I graduated from the Ann Arbor campus in 1983. I was a member of the last graduating class from the Ann Arbor campus. And the degree, at that time, we actually got 2 degrees. We got a Bachelor's of Science from U of M when we finished the didactic part of our curriculum. And then all of our full-time kind of clinical experiential learning courses were at the end. And when we finished that, which was in September, we got a certificate in physical therapy from the medical school.
Okay, a certificate. That's so funny. It's so different now. We just get one final degree once we're all done.
Right. And there are I don't know if you know a history of the profession as far as the degrees, but at that time there were some universities that were doing a post undergraduate education, similar to what you're receiving now. And instead of awarding students a master's degree, they gave them this certificate in physical therapy. So, but U of M's program was a little different because, it was mostly undergraduate, but we did have, an additional semester at the end.
Okay, that's interesting. I wasn't quite familiar with that whole process. Some individuals have enlightened me a little bit, but I didn't know completely. Our group that is working on this project actually this past weekend went and visited the old building in Ann Arbor.
Oh, what? No, okay. I was going to ask you, what's the name of that street?
Oh, I don't have the address, but I can always send you an email because I don't have the address on my phone. I'm trying to remember it, but I don't remember.
We'll get to that because you did have me think about, memories and whatnot.
Yes, absolutely. It's quite different than the building we're in now.
Oh, yeah.
So the next question is, why did you choose the University of Michigan to attend for physical therapy school?
That's a great question. So remember that I did attend as an undergrad.
Right, absolutely.
And so I grew up in northern New Jersey. My father worked for Ford Motor Company. So as you can imagine, I was born when we lived in Michigan. And I have several older siblings, several of whom went to the University of Michigan. One of them actually got her degree in physical therapy from U of M. She's my big sister. She was 10 years older than me.
Oh, wow.
And I kind of idolized her. I thought she knew everything medical. As you can imagine, I was in like 3rd grade when she was in college and, those kinds of things. So, she graduated in 1973. And so I wanted to go to the University of Michigan for college. We were living out east. I wanted to go to a big school that was good and rigorous academically, but you could still have a lot of fun at. So as you can imagine, all of the school spirit with the football games and all of that, and then as far as physical therapy, I did learn about that from my older sister. I didn't really know much about physical therapy. You might not have known much about it either when you were younger, right? I mean, it's not like, at least back then, little kids were saying things like, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a police officer, I want to be an astronaut. I never heard anybody say, I want to be a physical therapist. So I wanted to go to U of M. And then as I learned more about physical therapy, from getting the opportunity to spend some time, actually not with my sister at work, but with some of her colleagues, I got to see what PTs did and thought it was so amazing. And then I knew they had a good program, so I wanted to go there.
That's quite a unique and fortunate experience because now when we go to physical therapy school and when we apply, we have to acquire observation hours. And so we get that exposure then, but I'm sure back then that wasn't necessarily a requirement at the time. So
So the way it worked when I was there, Julia, it was kind of strange. You were in school because you wanted to go into physical therapy, right? As a freshman. But I couldn't say that I was majoring in physical therapy.
Interesting.
Okay, because we weren't accepted to the program. Our sophomore year, we applied. You know, you had, of course, just like you getting into it's a DPT, correct?
Correct.
You know, in order to get into the doctorate of PT program, you have to apply, you have to have good grades. They did want us to have some kind of, you know, at least some kind of healthcare related observation. I don't recall exactly the number of hours, but so you applied, and then sophomore year, they had us schedule for our fall semester junior year classes as if we did not get in, because there were hundreds of people who applied and there were only 36 who got in, and not all of those were from U of M. Right? So we all had, you know, had I not been accepted, I would have been majoring in biology, and then I was going to, you know, apply to go to grad school to get my PT degree, and would have been a master's degree at that time. There weren't, you know, that time period was when there were, I don't know the exact breakdown, but there were not that many programs having a master's degree. It was more of the bachelor's degree. So, you know, as you can imagine, I was wanted to get into the program. I didn't want to have to, you know, well, I wouldn't have switched schools, but I didn't, you know, I wanted to be a PT. I saw that I could start my career earlier. Do you know what I mean? If I got in. So I was very anxious. And the night before I got the letter in the mail telling me that I got accepted, I remember I talked with my mom, and I said, you know, I don't, you know, I've decided, you know, I'll be okay. You know, if I don't get in, you know, I'll just keep doing, as I said, majoring in biology and then applying. And I don't know why I said this, but I said to her, if a letter comes, do not open it. Wait, because I had to work that day, right? It was in summer. I was working. I actually worked as a nurse's aide in a nursing home. And for whatever reason, the letter came that next day. And my mom called me and said, the letter came, I didn't open it, but I held it up to the light, and I'm pretty sure you got in. Yeah, so it was very exciting. And, you know, I'm sure the way you felt when you got accepted.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got a phone call, and it was funny because I had received an email about the open house and to attend, and it said only admitted students or students that are on the wait list are invited. And I had not received an email or a phone call at that point. I didn't know that I was going to receive a phone call. So I hadn't received an email. So I'm like, did they forget to send me something? And so of course I wanted to attend the open house because I wanted to see the building that our program was in. And I went to go register, and I want to say it was 11:45 in the morning, and it said you couldn't register till noon. So I'm just sitting there, and I'm asking my parents, and I'm like, what do you think? This is weird. And all of a sudden my phone starts ringing, and it's an unknown number, and I answer it. And of course they're telling me I got accepted. So it was a very unique situation for sure.
A
little bit of confusion, but
yeah. You know what? I don't know how far along you are, but you're still a student, correct?
Correct. I'm in my final semester of my second year. So next semester is my final didactic semester, and I'll be a third year. And then it's all clinicals.
So, you know, I'm sure you're going to feel the same way when you finally pass that licensure exam, right? And you'll go out and celebrate. So yeah, it's, you know, so you can imagine I felt just, you know, over the moon when I found out I was accepted.
So what was your favorite memory during your time in the program?
Favorite memory? We spent a lot of time together in that little house down. It might be like North University something. Whatever that road is, it's the far north end of town.
Yeah.
And favorite memory, I mean, it was hard. we had class that senior year from, I'm not kidding you, from like 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. every day with, an hour off for lunch. And we had night labs too.
Ooh.
So we had, when we would learn certain things, equipment that they had at the hospital, PT department, we had to do that at night when they didn't have patients there. So, I mean, we didn't have night labs every week, but we literally had 40 hours a week of class that we were all together in that little building that you saw.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but favorite, one thing that I remember, and my husband was my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
And so, my friend Jill Greenfield, who graduated the same year, she was our maid of honor. And we were, so anyway, we were good friends. And we were preparing for a practical exam, okay? You know how nerve-wracking those are, right?
Very.
So, so we had Jill and I, and there were probably some other of the people in the class, I don't remember who, but we had my poor husband there, my boyfriend at the time, well, my fiance at the time, and he was our patient that we were practicing on. So you probably don't even learn this anymore, but we, when we were learning about cervical traction, there's cervical, do you learn about that still?
Yes.
All right. Okay. So you probably use cervical traction when the patients are lying supine, right?
Correct.
Okay, where you have the Saunders. Anyway,
yeah.
There were also cervical traction units they're sitting,
oh.
And the unit was like attached to the wall, and you put the harness on, right? And then you had to distract, and it was a stronger force because you had to lift the weight of the head. So we put my poor husband in that, and we didn't do it wrong. But I guess we didn't properly explain to him, it's going to start pulling, and first it lifts, supports the weight of your head. And then, it's supposed to do a little bit of force, right? To kind of distract a little bit and relieve the muscle tension and all that. So he thought we were kind of killing him there a little bit. So that's one of my favorite memories, a little bit of levity in the midst of all the anxiety of all the practical exams and studying and all of that.
Absolutely. I'm sure I have many of similar stories of practicing for practicals and not exactly always doing it correctly.
Yeah. Well, he wound up marrying me anyway, so I guess it was okay.
Exactly. So what kind of physical therapy were you interested in originally, and what are you working in now, or what did you end up having a career in?
Okay. So I was initially interested in geriatric physical therapy. I started as my senior year of high school, I started working as a nurse's aide in a nursing home, and did that in college too, in the summers, and when I had, time off between, Christmas and New Year's, that time. And I just really saw all of these patients. And to be fair, I think they were probably patients who had dementia and their families couldn't care for them, and, those kinds of things. But I saw a lot of the patients, start to be unable to, be independent in their ambulation, right? They spend a lot of time sitting and things of that nature. And so I saw PT as a great way that we could, address that by keeping them stronger, keeping them, functional in their mobility and things of that nature. So I was initially interested in that. When I had gross anatomy, which we actually did that in junior year. So senior year was all in that building on whatever that street was. And I think it was North U, but I might be wrong. But junior year, we were up at the medical school, that campus, and we had gross anatomy. We had a regular anatomy class, in a lecture hall. We had pathophysiology of disease, which was a graduate school course. And anyway, when I had gross anatomy, that was my favorite course. And I just was so interested in all of the muscles, the bones, the joints, the nerves, all of that, the more musculoskeletal system. And so I became really very interested in a lot of the different orthopedic injuries that people sustained. And so then I wound up becoming a board certified orthopedic clinical specialist. And also I have another credentialing to treat patients who have spinal pain, not spinal cord injury, but musculoskeletal spinal pain. And it's from the McKenzie Institute. So it's a certification in mechanical diagnosis and therapy. So all of that. And then I was working in private practice, orthopedic patients, and having a lot of students, decided I really enjoyed the time I spent with the students in the clinic. And I had so many of them that I felt they really struggled to take what they learned at school and put it into practice with real patients. So I then went back to school to get my PhD so that I could become a physical therapy educator. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm doing now. I work for Thomas Jefferson University, which is in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in their Department of Physical Therapy. And I teach the musculoskeletal physical therapy courses. I teach pathophysiology of musculoskeletal conditions. I teach differential diagnosis, screening for medical illness, and, a smattering of other things.
That's amazing. It's funny.
And I do research too, right?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've spoken with any other faculty members, but I have my focus of research is in painful musculoskeletal conditions of the knees with a focus on patellofemoral pain and knee osteoarthritis.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Speaking of practicals, I have my lower quadrant practical on Monday, so familiar with all of this.
There you go. And that's what I'm teaching this summer. I'm teaching our first musculoskeletal course, and it's the lower quarter, primarily lower extremity.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
All right. Well, good luck with that.
Thank you. We're approaching finals. We have all finals next week, so
yeah.
All down on that studying. So you mentioned a little bit how you loved gross anatomy. Who was your favorite professor or the one who had the greatest impact on your education at your time in the program?
Yeah. So the gross anatomy was definitely my favorite course. The person who taught that, I don't even remember his name. He was actually a physiatrist working at U of M, I suppose at the hospital. But as far as the professors that had the greatest impact on me, I would think was probably Cindy Kincaid, who taught us our physical agents course, including the cervical traction. So if she watches this, she might get a chuckle out of it. She was also our director of clinical education, and she was excellent. I very much admired her. She was very professional, but I have to say I was a little bit afraid of her as well. Because she was very, very serious and professional about everything that she did. But she, as I'm in academia now, I have a friend who was also a director of clinical education, and she, here in the Philadelphia area, and she knew Cindy from, the profession. And I told this friend of mine that I was a little bit afraid of Cindy, and she was surprised because she said Cindy was really so nice. And she probably was, but, practical exams, all of that, there was a lot of stress and pressure.
Absolutely. As a student, it's very difficult sometimes to think about your professors in a different light than just grading you in front of you.
Right. I completely understand that.
I can understand. So that was all the questions I had. Is there anything else you would like to share or add today?
I'd just like to say to everyone, happy birthday to the University of Michigan Physical Therapy Program. 70 years is wonderful and amazing. I do know that it was the first physical therapy program in the state of Michigan, which is pretty awesome. And just being part of the University of Michigan is. And I feel very blessed to have gone through the program. I think it really, the faculty really, they encouraged us. They did want us to think about them as colleagues because they knew we would be very soon, right? We would be their colleagues. They also instilled a real love for the profession in me, and I think in my classmates too. And I really do feel that because I attended University of Michigan's physical therapy program, that's the reason why I felt so, so that it was so important to continue growing as a professional, and also then to try to give back to the profession through educating students, both when I was out in the clinic as a clinical instructor and now as I'm teaching a full-time faculty member. So I just like to say I'm very, very grateful. And to all of you who are in the program now, you are in a wonderful program and you have a wonderful future ahead of you in a fantastic profession.
Thank you. I really appreciate all those words. And it's great to hear, especially as I'm nearing the end of my time in the program as well.
Yeah, so, and I couldn't imagine being in a better profession where we can learn so much and really learn so much about the human body, which I think is amazing, and then help people, in so many different ways. So.
Absolutely. Well, it was great talking to you today and meeting you.
Nice to meet you. And I hope I might see some of you folks. I'm hoping to get out there for the I guess it's alumni weekend or something like that, homecoming. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I look forward to it.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, listen, you take care, Julia, and thank you so much.
Yep. Okay. Bye.
Bye.